Hey, what is going on, everybody? So we have a very special guest here today, and he goes by Cat Russell. So, Cat, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing okay. I'm doing a little okay today. We're having a little iffy feeling with the stomach, but we're here. We're kicking it. I'm excited to talk to you about your project coming up. So, you know, you've been in the space for a little while. We could touch on that if you want to. I feel like the listeners should have a grasp on who you are, but if you can walk us through the name and everything you got coming up, and then we'll dive a little deeper into the project.
Yeah, so I have a drop this coming Tuesday, the 24th, and the project's called Trap Geo. It's 10 pieces that I made using 250 National Geographic magazines. And it kind of originated from this idea of trying to make a really hard-hitting Nat Geo collage. Because when I think about National Geographic collages, I think of like landscapes and nature, and I don't think of things like guns, death, like all the stuff that you get from trap music album covers.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Why National Geographic? Is it, I mean, I know you said, you don't see the covers like you do like the rap albums, but is there something about National Geographic? Is there a certain year that you like to look at? Is there anything with that?
Well, as a collage artist, National Geographics are pretty staple to almost any collage artist. If you ask them what magazines they use, that word will come up. If it doesn't, that's almost a red flag. So it's just collecting a bunch of physical books and magazines. Since I do it all analog, I kept getting this larger and larger backlog of Nat Geos. And I have always liked this expression. Well, now I got to remember the expression. Wow. uh, but the idea that, if you're putting limiters on what you do, that oftentimes breeds more extra creativity. And so when I started playing around with these ideas of like, let's make some hip hop trap album covers, I liked this idea of, well, why don't we add that limiter of, and I'm only going to use Nat Geos for it.
I mean, it's pretty interesting to me, man, because you posted a picture in our chat the other day, and it was an absolute huge collection of National Geographic, and it was only, I think you said 2/3 of your collection, and bro, just seeing so many lined up, I was like, wow, this dude's really going in right now. Not only that, so you caught me off guard whenever you said that usually collage artists use National Geographic. I was totally unaware that is like one of the go-tos for the book to cut out of. Can I ask you, why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, they've been around since the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's a monthly magazine. So there's just 100 years of Nat Geos floating around, and they specialized in these are really good photos. These are impressive snapshots of different locations. The photographers from Nat Geo often win, Photography of the Year awards, things like that. And as a collage artist, if you're working in the asset side, like most do, you're always looking for something cool to cut out. So I think that's why.
I mean, it definitely sounds like it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, you have me wanting to like get on eBay and pick me up a Nat Geo book and just look through it to see what I can find in there. I am a fan of magazines, even though I feel they're not as popular in 2023 as like digital. But I'm still a big fan, and even whenever I look back at, I have some old time magazines. I look at with I guess just the inside, and I just find a whole bunch of old crazy stuff, and I'm like, damn, this stuff is wild. So I can only imagine Nat Geo. I've never looked it up. So, but let's look forward and talk about the name that you have. So, Trap Geo. This will be coming out on which date?
This Tuesday, so the 24th.
This Tuesday on the 24th. And now, how long have you been working on their pieces? Or can you, like, Okay, not only how long have you been working on the pieces, can you like talk us through how many pieces there are and kind of like the process of what it's like to make these pieces? Because I don't, from what I've seen, I've been on video chat with you. These are not no just couple pieces of paper cut out and glued to paper. You know, these are pretty complicated pieces, and I don't think they're no short time at all. So could you walk us through like the process of creating and what's put into it?
Yeah, so I had done two all National Geographic collages in the past that were in this same style. And then I finally decided I should make a collection of them. And I guess the process for that and what that entails is first hunting down a couple hundred Nat Geos. And I decided I was just going to use the illustrations in them. And that's why I needed so many, is because they're mainly photography. They're not much illustration. So I went through 200, 250 Nat Geos, and I cut out every illustration from every page of them. And I just made piles. And once I had all those piles, then I started kind of separating them based on size, color, theme, things of that nature. Started actually cutting out in detail the like tinier pieces and making piles there. And once I had that all spread on a 12-foot long table, I kind of went through it and started saying, okay, this is all my assets. Time to essentially memorize them and start pairing them together so that you can come up with actual concepts and themes that feel uniform and doesn't feel like how when people hear the word collage, they often immediately have their brain jump to like when they were in fifth grade and made a collage in class and they were just like, I'm going to glue an airplane next to a person, next to a pile of cash. And there's no real meaning. So trying to make sure I avoid that is a huge part of it. So I think all of that aspect of work took about 1 to 2 months. And then once I had a large portion of it more or less memorized of what it looks like, where it is, then I started going through and making the 10 pieces. And then after those were finished, I took each piece, I handmade a plexiglass resin case for it, and then made a resin mold and filled it. And each of them have a physical that can accompany the master version, and that is NFC chip paired to the respective NFT.
Yo, so for one, that's like next level to me. So I know people will hear this and you'll always have those doubters, naysayers, whatever. There's definitely going to be those people that's like, oh, okay. And like, you know, you have people like Yuga that are doing Dookie Dash and they have like this big game. Look, bro, this is literally Cat Russell in the house doing this by hand on the free time that he gets. I think that's very important that people know that, like, bro, you're from what I know, you're just working alone in the house. You're getting these magazines.
Just a solo thing.
Yeah, a solo thing. You're finding these magazines. You're doing something you enjoy. The collage. Now, you did make a very great point. Even whenever I know you, and even whenever I think of collage, I think back to my 5th grade, 6th grade younger self, just throwing some Elmer's glue on paper and be like, ta-da, you know, like, there we go, we're done. I never really think of how intricate or how complicated, sophisticated it could be until like I see people like yourself do these works. So it's very intriguing to me, man. You've really opened my eyes in the world of collaging. For one, didn't even know that there was certain books that people like use or go look after that are better than others. Little stuff like that. So I definitely want to ask you, why collages? Is this something you just landed on, or is this because you do everything solo? And I mean, you put a lot of work into it. You could have easily tried to take an easier route, but instead you're like, yo, this is what I want to do. This is my niche. I'm working here. Like, so why collages?
So when I first started making art, it was a somewhat out of necessity, just wanting to fill up free time and prevent idle hands from returning to bad habits I had had.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out, what's a good way to do that has good results. when I tried painting and I sucked at it. And honestly, when I tried collaging at first, I sucked at it. You suck at everything when you first start. But one of my big issues was I'd have these ideas in my head, and then I'd be like, "Oh, that looks sweet." And then by the time I'd paint it, and I'd look at the piece of paper, it looked like a kid painting it, and it looked nothing like what I wanted. And I was like, "How do I make these nice, lush textures? How do I get these colors I want?" And I suddenly realized, like, well, like in this magazine on my desk, that's the color I want. That's the texture I want. Why don't I just start cutting out textures and not really cut out assets like I cut out a car, but just cut out like I cut out this color purple because I want that purple in the piece. So that's where it started. And then from there, many of my peers, they've been doing art their whole life. They went to college for art, and I'm kind of the opposite. So it's like playing catch up. You got to put in your hours and you got to get good at your craft. And the more specialized and niched you hone it, the more you can master that unique item. So that's why you don't really see me doing much painting, why I'm pretty open about the fact that when I sketch these out in advance, my sketches look like stick figures and are awful, because that's not where I put my time and effort. I just focus on practicing with knife, practicing with analog composition, and practice with collage.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. And I've seen your sketches, and I don't think they're bad by any means, but seeing what you're able to create with the collages versus maybe just doing a random sketch, I would say, the collage is crazy. But it's been so interesting to see what you've made because, I'm going to call it like it is. I've seen a lot of people in this space, maybe not this space, but I've seen a lot of people in general just when it comes to a collage piece, it feels like it's just three random things. Like we rewound back to fifth grade. It's just three things randomly placed on the paper. Kind of really don't get any sort of anything from it. I'm just like, yeah, that's in simple terms a collage, I guess. But with yours, I mean, you do everything by hand. You go from step one to the final step by yourself. I do want to ask you, have you ever messed up, like, towards maybe the end of one of these processes? Have you ever, or has everything been smooth for you so far?
No, and there's no Control Z like digital. I mean, right. Mod Podge is the glue I use because it has a 5 or 10 second time that you can kind of wiggle stuff and make sure you get it right before it gets too sticky and messes up the paper. But if you're gluing really tiny things, that sometimes just messes up and you just got to build on top of it and try to salvage what you can. Or sometimes one of the worst things is I'll be cutting something out and I'll be like, well, I don't need that part. And then I go to put it on the paper and it's like 1/8 of an inch short. And I can't uncut it and make it bigger. And I've just ruined that piece. So then I can't use that one asset for what I'm working on, or I got to work around a problem I created for myself.
Oh,
but dude, it happens.
I could only imagine. I've never done collage. I think it looks amazing. I think it looks fun, but I know the moment I got out an X-Acto knife and I tried to be precise and I cut my image, I'd be so mad and I'd be like, you know what? Maybe this ain't for me.
But that's no different than if you draw in pen. The first months you're practicing in pen, you're going to draw outside exactly where you want, and it's like, oh, well, the ink's down. Shit.
No, you're right.
Exact same thing with a knife. If I'm cutting something out and my hand slips and I cut into it, well, oops, that's it.
Wow, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I can say that as someone who has dabbled in painting, I definitely put that brush down and I'm like, damn, that sucks. That looks like a 5-year-old did it. But it's progressing. I'm progressing. We're getting further. And, eventually I don't know what we will land on, whether it's just pencil, painting. I don't know if I could jump into the collage, man. It looks so fun, but it seems like it's very, what is the word? Very timid, maybe is the word. You really have to, I remember we were on video chat the other day and you showed me some of the pieces that you were gluing down. Bro, they were so small. And I know that you had to cut them. Not only did you cut them, then glue them, and then to just make sure that they're all in the right spot, bro. That has to be like not only time consuming, but just so fidgety or something, you know?
Yeah, it's so a lot of my pieces, like the one you're talking about, that aren't asset based, but I'm just cutting out like little pieces of paper and assembling the
Yeah.
image. A lot of those have really thin pieces of paper that may be like an eighth of an inch in width or a 16th of an inch in width and like, I don't know, a half inch long. And you just get used to like essentially using your knife like chopsticks. Because like trying to hold that in your fingers and like not ruin it is so hard. But like anything, it's just you do it enough times, you just get used to like the methods behind it and what works and what doesn't.
And that's what I'm glad you said that because that's what I wanted to ask you. How long have you been doing these collages now overall?
So I started just a little over 2 years ago. Um, and yeah, at first there was, a lot of just trying to put in hours and practice. And I think now I'm kind of at the next stage beyond that where I have a good foundation behind me. I did dailies for about 6 months there in late 2021, early 2022. And, at least half of them got thrown away at the end of the daily because I'd sit down and not have a good idea and just flip through books and be like, yeah, let's put these together. And then look at it and be like, the composition sucks, or like, there's no story or theme here whatsoever. It's just random mess. But all of those dailies really helped with practicing just like sitting down, being forced to not have the equivalent of writer's block, and doing all the hand motions with the knife, placing of paper and gluing, just all of what is the core functions that I need to just have as instinct and not require effort.
Hands down, consistency is key. I'm a very, very firm believer of consistency is key, especially, I mean, I see it just even with the podcast. Like, I'm not someone who has studied any videos besides, like, I guess randomly watching other people's podcasts. Like, I don't know. But just over time, it's like the repetition of doing something and just over and over and over again, you do get the grasp of it and you do slowly, but like I've seen, I mean, hell, you take episode 1 of this podcast versus this episode, dude, this episode is miles better than the first one, just because, I mean, it's been going for so long and I kind of have a better understanding. And I feel like that's the same with art. I mean, I even see it with my own art. Do you feel like, and I feel like this is kind of maybe an obvious answer, but as you continue to do your collaging, as you continue to do everything, you'll just absolutely do nothing but get better as time goes. Are you ever going to evolve into anything else, though, or do you think you're going to stick with collaging long term?
So I do think that it's getting better, and I think the reason why is when people talk about getting into a flow state and how, like, their best art happens in flow state. I think flow state comes a lot more natural once you can get into autopilot, essentially. And you can't be in autopilot unless you're just moving by habit and not really having to like go like, oh yeah, how do I do that again? Because that'll knock you out of it. So I think now that I'm actually able to move in that way, that's helped a lot. As far as growth and whether I'll move beyond collage, I dabble in acrylics here and there. I like playing with spray paint. I've done a few animations that have been a combination of paint and paper. It's really a, we'll see type thing. I have a big interest in how pocket watches work, and I've always wanted to play around with building sculptures using all like the tiny gears from pocket watches. If you can't tell, I like playing with like really tiny pieces of paper too. And I liked Connects as a kid. So I could see myself getting into that because, again, it's that textile using your hands type feeling. And I grew up doing a lot of woodworking and construction. So I could see, if I ever randomly came into a bunch of money and could buy just a ton of pocket watch gears and supplies, starting to play more in the physical realm of sculptures.
Dude, so I mean that's pretty interesting because not only is like collaging like very small pieces, especially for what you use, but pocket watches in general, anything inside of a watch is just so small and intricate that I mean it would be beautiful whatever you make, but man, that reminds me that someone had got me a small gift, and it was like a Brooklyn Bridge, but it was like these little metal things, and you had to build it. Bro, when I tell you that was so hard, I've never just quit on something before totally trying. Bro, no freaking way. Like, no freaking way. So I applaud you a lot for working with these little bitty small pieces, bro, because I'm supposed to be taking pliers and bending little pieces, and like I bend it too far, snaps, and I'm just like, how do people do this? So I definitely salute you on that stuff. And I have to ask you as well, what are you working on right now?
So now that we have Trap Geo all ready to go, I have a couple other projects that I'm working with the same dev company and possibly a different dev, since I'm a big fan of hiring devs and going one step beyond the just list on your own marketplace. One of the pieces, I can't talk about the dev side of it, but I did just finish it up for Denver, and it's a 2-foot tall piece that is a nature scene. And almost all the paper is, I don't know, 1/2 inch or smaller. So it's got a couple thousand of pieces of paper that it took. It was maybe a 70 to 80 hour project.
Holy. Okay, so two things. One, I love that you answered the question the way you did. I meant though, what do I hear? Do I hear you drawing something right now or cutting something? Or am I just totally going crazy?
Oh, I'm a big fidgeter, and you know, like how people like playing with like fidget spinner thingies.
Yeah.
I always have all these X-Acto knives around the house, and I'm always just kind of twirling them around and like cutting my cuticles on my fingers and cleaning my fingers with them. Just bad habit.
That's perfectly fine. I was like, you know what? I think he's working as we do this episode. I'm not sure.
No, I'm just fidgeting.
I was like, wow, this dude is just always in his zone. You cannot stop him. That's wild. But you know, let's talk about and it's nice to know that you because that was going to be one of my other questions is what do you have actually going on right now? And you just answered that. And I know we can't talk about too much in on the other side, but it'll help me tie in the Trap Geo. So the 2-foot piece, for one, that's absurd. The fact that they're all small pieces, the first thing that immediately came to my mind was, oh, okay, he just took full pages. And no, you didn't. It seems like you cut these up too and made a big piece. So I'm very interested in seeing this piece. I won't be in Denver, but I'm sure I will be seeing pictures. But I also want to talk to you about the Trap Geo part where you said, we're going to rewind. You did the hand casted resin molds for the Trap Geo yourself. And then you put an NPC chip in them. Can you talk?
NFC chip, yeah.
NFC. I said NPC. I'm acting like an NPC right now. NFC chip in there. Where did that idea come from? I know we've saw it with other people, but what made you want to do that with your Trap Geo? How does something like that just like come about? Is it just something you throw in there and then you're done? Could you walk us through that little process that you had to do and why?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of the date of when. I want to say in October or November of 2021, I did a collab with Soundwave's Photon, and I made the physical on 3 layers of plexiglass, and in between some of the paper, I glued NFC chips, and then I mailed him the whole physical. And with the chips, what he was doing was he was programming them so that when you point your phone camera at the physical, your phone camera plays his AR overlay, which was all like changing how it looked and making it wavy. And it also played music that he wrote. And then we had another chip that he coded so that it also pops up a little link. And if you click the link, it sends you to the NFT. And I really liked that concept of having this physical way to quickly interact with it to find the piece's digital alternative or equivalent. And I just kind of kept it in the back of my mind for a while. And then with this drop, because this drop is each piece has 15 editions, and they come in card packs that are randomized. And then there's also one master copy of each one that can be randomly pulled from a card pack. So I wanted it that if you pull the master copy, I'll mail you the physical, and the physical will be paired to its digital equal using that chip.
Damn, that's dope. So I'm a big fan of physical work, especially whenever it's an NFT that you can claim to get the physical, because it's like, yo, I got it on the blockchain and I got it in person. So best of both worlds for me. Now, have we discussed, I know we said the date, have we discussed the mint price or anything, or are you wanting to keep that a mystery until the day of?
No, I've disclosed that. So the mint price is 0.2 ETH. And when you mint, you get a randomized 3-pack of editions. Each edition is, like I said, sized 15. And we are coding it so that specifically when you mint, you can't get any duplicates. So it's randomized, but you won't get like 2 or 3 of the same one.
Hell, that's sick.
And that's, again, why I had to use a custom dev for this. And so it mints on my own website that I created for it. It's on my own special smart contract that could integrate the randomization, the when you click mint, getting 3, not 1. And then there's about a 1 in 6 chance when you buy a pack that you pull one of the master editions that comes with the physical.
That's so awesome. So anyone listening in, I definitely encourage, if you can, to check out this drop. Only I say that because, you know, Kat has been an amazing person. He has an amazing story, you know, and his art is just beautiful. I'm a very big fan of art in general, but whenever it comes to collage art, I just don't feel like there's that many people out there doing it. Maybe there is, and I'm just totally blind to it. But on my TL, I basically only see Kat. But dude, I've really enjoyed this talk, and we still got some things to talk about. But it's just interesting to hear like your process and everything that goes into it. Now, let me ask, and apologies if you've already answered this today. How long have you been doing the collage art overall? Did you say 2 years, 3 years?
2 years, yeah.
2 years. So, what were you into art at all before collage making, like, or did something happen?
Okay, when I was younger, you know, when I was in high school, I used to be into art. I used to like to circuit bend musical instruments and build my own electronic musical instruments.
Oh, wow.
And I did a little bit of graffiti art. And then, you know, in college, I mainly just partied. And after that, I went to law school, and then I was an attorney doing end-of-life healthcare, and that just took up all my time for a real long time, until I was unemployed through most of the pandemic, and at a certain point decided, like, you know, I needed to clean up a lot of my bad habits that I had gotten heavy into. And that meant an extra 8 hours of the day free time that I needed to fill. And it was like, it's so soul sucking to just go and apply for job after job and not get it. It kills your feeling of self-worth. And I had been doing that for about a year, and I just felt like, you know, like, what's my purpose if no one will hire me for what I've been trained to do? Like, what am I doing every day, waking up and just applying for another job that I feel like I won't get? And so I just like, you know what? I'm going to just quit doing that. I'm I'm going to be okay with the fact I'm unemployed. And every day I'm going to wake up and make a piece of art. And at least that way, at the end of the day, I can look at something tangible and say, I did in fact accomplish this today. This day wasn't a waste. And if I apply for a couple jobs each week anyway, like, great, but I'll at least feel some sense of accomplishment. And so that's kind of how it started. And that's what brought me back to art, was just trying to find something that gave me that sense of purpose, and just a feeling of productivity, even if it was at that time a fake productivity. I was a very amateur artist, just trying to say, well, at least I did something today. That's good enough. I can go to sleep at night.
That's, man, Kat, you are very inspirational to me, man. Like, you, and the simple fact that you just make me want to create. Like right now, I just want to be like, all right, yeah, we're done. I'm going to get on the iPad. I'm going to create some art. Like I want to push that stuff out. But I mean, your story, man, that's why I said earlier, it's super, super like dope to me, because I know what you've done, and to just sit there and create, bro, you ain't lying. Like as someone, I haven't worked in the last 3 years. Luckily, been blessed enough to be able to do NFTs or whatever, be Web3. But dude, you go out there and you apply for jobs over and over and over again. You got people telling you, no, you're not qualified to do this. And it's like, bro, I can't never be qualified if I never get the opportunity to work here. How does this work? Just so many things that keep knocking you down. And I feel like now in Web3, we kind of have this chance and opportunity to do the things like collage or podcast or just creating in general, and finding a living from it. Would you say that Web3 has, I don't want to say changed your life overall, but do you feel like it's maybe bettered it in some aspects?
So I work a Web3 job over at Block Party. Been there a little over a year now, and I really like the overlap that has with my creative life. And that's why I hunted down that job and searched for that exact job. So it's been just way less stressful. My old career was end of life healthcare compliance. I would be the one who, when my patients would get denied things like oxygen or baths, would be responsible for filing on their behalf. And anytime I messed up an appeal, or even if I did a good job on it and the insurance was being strict and denied them, like their family would call me and be like, Sylvia can't be bathed anymore. What's happening? And I'd have to deal with that. And that was stressful. Like patients getting denied oxygen and then dying, like their family would call me. And after about 8 years of that, I just couldn't do it anymore. And just working in Web3 is so much nicer because this is all product based. Art in many ways is a product. I make it for me. I enjoy making it. But if I mess up a piece of art, no one dies. Like when you compare it, there's just so much less stress because of that simple fact.
Yeah, the severity in your art is not near the same, I guess, size as your prior job. But once again, I have to applaud you for that, because that is no easy job. I feel working around humans is a very tough thing to do already, just because everyone's so unique in their own way. You'll never fully understand the next person beside you, especially whenever you're in situations like you were in, and you're just like, man, some of these are out of my control, and I still have these families calling me, and it's so stressful, bro. When you said 8 years, 8 years is a long time to do anything. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm very glad that you got out of that, because although, we need people to do those jobs, it's just not for some people. And I definitely don't feel like it's for you. You have a lot to offer, and so do a lot of other people. But with your art, man, I'm glad you're able to get away and start showing us, as in the world and the NFT space and Web3, what you're able to make. I mean, it's super crazy. And just to hear just like some of the things that you've done or you've been through, bro, this is crazy. This is something I've never known. But I do want to ask. So we have 5 questions, and we usually do that at the end. But before we go over there, what is there anything that you want the listeners to know? Is there anything that you wish I would have asked you, or is there anything that you just want to let them know about Trap Geo or anything coming up?
Yeah, I think that, one of my big ethoses in Web3 is this belief that, Web3, you hear people say we're early all the time. And one thing that I think is true is that we're early from a standpoint that you can take a 2-people group, 3-person group, and start a company right now. And within a year, your company could be a household name within Web3. You look at something like Manifold. Manifold is 2 years old. That's it. Almost every artist in this space knows Manifold by name, knows their product. I mean, they are a household name in 2 years. That's insane. So when you have a unique idea in this space, pursue it. Like, if you're like, I want to do a drop that has these mechanics. Oh, none of the marketplaces have that? Go hunt down some devs. Pay your devs, get it done. I've hired devs for 3 different projects now. I have them on the books for 3 more for this year already. Because these unique things that you can build, if you build a cool mechanic for your drop and it's a hit, then you may just open the door to be able to offer that mechanic to other people. Like this Trap Geo packs drop. If people like these randomized card packs as a way of doing additions, that could be the next how everyone does it, like how we've seen open editions right now. And it cost me like a couple ETH maybe to hire the devs, get a website up, everything. That's such a low cost for, at worst, you're providing it to the public and they can see it and other people can now look at my contract to replicate it. And at best, I could start a company using that as some of the IP for it.
Yo, you brought up some great points right there, Kat. This space is evolving quick, but it's very easy to become a household name just as quick here. We've seen it happen again. I mean, most of the household names in NFTs, these are not companies that have already been around. I mean, 5 years ago, you did not know what a Bored Ape was or a Cool Cat was or certain people. You didn't know none of that stuff. So, I mean, what you're doing, I ain't gonna lie. As soon as you mentioned the pack drop, I was like, oh shit, he actually piqued my interest right away just off the drop mechanic of it. And, you've actually looked into it. So, I mean, I think you raise some good things. And I'm very curious to see if anyone else takes this like model and puts it into their own thing. Cause it's a very good opportunity because 3 random pieces in 1 pack, it gives me the thought of cards again. For one, I love trading cards. So that right there already makes me want to get it from that aspect. And then just the fact that I can get 3 of your pieces in 1 and then still collect, bro, there's so much going on. So, and even before we go over, what made you think of that? Like, was that just something that came to your mind or did someone mention that to you?
So I have not released any editions for sale in about 1.5 years. I've done a couple airdropped editions, and that's about it. And when I heard about open editions starting to catch on, and I've bought plenty of them from other people, I personally didn't see open edition as something I wanted for me. And it's like, well, if open edition isn't for me, I guess I could just put out an edition, and I'm building a collection and I want to do some editions for people, but just saying like, hey, here's 10 pieces I made. They're each going to be editions of 15. That sounds very boring. I mean, it just sounds status quo. Like, there are 100 artists at least who have done, I made a set of editions. You can buy which ones you like. And so why not just take it a step further, I guess?
No, I like that because it sounds like bro, there's a lot of things you could have done where it's like, oh yeah, I mean that's already been done. I can just follow them, do the same. You're more or less kind of wanting to push it though. You're kind of, if you see something that you want to do, you're like, why can't I do that? Or why can't I go have that made or get that done? Or why can't we drop it like this or try it like this? I think that's what's needed, bro. I mean, if we just keep doing the same things, how are we ever going to evolve? How are we ever going to do something different? So who knows? Maybe Cat Russell is the visionary mind that we needed in this space, bro. Like, I think you're the visionary we needed, man, for real. Because a lot of the things you've said, I mean, they're things that haven't even crossed my mind. Things that I definitely wouldn't have thought of randomly. But
I was in crypto for a long time before NFTs, and
were you?
I started in about 2017.
Oh, damn. Okay, my man's been in the scene.
But the reason I like the NFT scene specifically, and me being a creator in it, is when I look at buying a random shit coin, like it's definitely gambling. It's educated gambling. You can do your own research, you can stare at charts, etc. But none of that's in your control. And so I've always been telling artists, like, invest in yourself. That's why I like hiring devs for my drops. It does cost upfront money, but this is a gamble that I control most of the factors of. I control what the art I'm going to be selling on this gamble looks like. I control the drop mechanics of it. I control the timing, the price, all of those things. Like, I'm doing the marketing and social media for it. If it fails, that's on me. That's not on, some weird thing like, oh, well, the price of ETH was going down or anything like that. Like, no, I get to control all the rules for this, and I get to cause it to succeed or fail. So I should invest in it and make sure it succeeds.
I agree 100%. I definitely feel like one of the best, if not the best, investment you can make is yourself, because you have full control. Like, that is, you are the only one that knows how you feel, what you want, and what you want to do. No one else can tell you or take that away. Like, that's your own control. So, I mean, I agree, man. And not only that, I'm very, very excited to see how this drop goes for you, because I know you're not someone who is just all about money. I know that's not what this drop is about. Like, you legitimately bust your ass to make these pieces because, for one, I mean, you like art, but like, I just always had this sense about you that you just want people to create what they enjoy, and you enjoy what you do. And this has just been like a really good way for you to express yourself. So to see this drop finally happen, to know how much time you've put into it and what you do at home, just little bitty knife, paper, over and over again, consistency, bro. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you, seriously.
Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're gonna jump over to these 5 questions now. Now, with the 5 questions, they're gonna be life, NFT. You can answer it however you want to. Some may be a little hard, some may be easy. But to start it off, I always want to ask, what is the most important thing to you in your life?
I guess right now it is focusing on identifying what makes me happy. That's a question that I think took 30 years of my life to figure out I should even be asking. And, the past couple years have been focused on trying to identify the answer. I haven't found the answer yet, but I think I've been getting closer, and that's a good first step.
Dude, I mean, it's a first step, and not only, like you said, it's a hell of a first step, because, I mean, there's people that go their whole life and never ask that question.
They don't teach you to ask that question.
They don't.
I mean, everything about my life up until I was 34 was focused on, you go to this school because that will get you a good job. You work the good job because that'll get you money. Yeah, the good job is stressful, but that's because it has money. And like, then when you're looking back at it, it's like, wow, I literally was spending all of that time being stressed and not enjoying myself because that was the path that was the status quo.
You're 1,000% right. And the thing is, like, I think the phrase is often like living the same year 27 times in a row isn't living a life. It's just maintaining. And the thing is, like, is something similar to that. And it's just, I I sat back and I thought about something similar this one day, and I was just like, yo, like, it has to be just more than going to college, getting a regular job, 5 days out of the week. I'm off on the weekends, and then just repeat that until I die. There's no way. There's just no way that's just like all that this is about. No, can't believe that. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of in the same boat, like trying to find what I really enjoy, what my happiness is. But you're right, they don't teach you to ask that. You're kind of just put in this mode of the same repetition, just, oh yeah, just do what everybody else is doing. You'll get the hang of it, and then yeah, you'll be fine. You're an adult, boom, start a family.
There was a study that I heard a couple years ago, and it was a study about the brain and how memories work. And essentially they discovered that your brain, when you go to bed at night, it looks through everything you did that day, and anything that you like already have done a million times before, it just takes that memory and throws it out. It doesn't need to save it. Like, it doesn't need to save cooking a chicken breast in the oven. Like, you've done that, you have that memory, you're good on it. It doesn't need to save you working your 9 to 5 job doing the same repetitive tasks. And so you're not storing new memories, and that's why when people are like, man, this year flew by, well, that's because you don't have new memories built. So your actual experience of the past year, it feels like it flew by because there's nothing new in there. And once I heard that study, I was like, I should try to be effectively building new memories and trying new experiences. And so since hearing that, I do try to make an effort to, like, if I'm out somewhere and someone's like, hey, you want to go see this show? Yeah, let's just do it. Like, when I was in Japan, there was somebody selling baby birds deep fried on a stick. And I was walking by them. I was kind of hungry. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to buy those and eat those right now. Like, why wouldn't I? And here I am 3 years later. I have that memory specifically because that's not a memory you get every day.
No, and you know what? For one, baby birds on a stick is a wild ass sentence to just throw out there. But you make such a perfect point, bro. Like, anytime, I mean, I want anyone listening to think about it. Like, I want you to think about your best year. Think about the best year you've ever had. And then think about how different that year was because of all the things you probably did in that year. Like, there was probably a bunch of firsts that went on for you, or just a bunch of things that you got to do that you didn't do often. And just like Kat said, like, those are sticking out to you for a reason because they're not something that you do every day, like making a chicken breast or going outside and throwing away trash. Like, and there has been times, like, look at COVID. Everyone was like, oh yeah, like, time flew. Well, we were all doing the same thing every single day. There was nothing new to do. You couldn't go do nothing new. So yeah, it did feel like time just flew right by. And that's probably why, you're going to make me, like, just go outside and start doing things like walking backwards around the block so I can remember this Tuesday in the week. I mean, I don't know. That's a crazy thought, though. That's a really good, like, study. And now I hope anyone listening to this, do something different. I'm not saying you have to go out of your comfort zone, but just try to do something a little different. Make tomorrow or today a memory, make sure you can remember all the stuff that we're doing. That's why I just bought a video camera, $100 video camera. And now every night I, like, record videos and do, like, a little blog with myself, just so in 20 years I can look back and be like, oh, I remember that. Like, even tonight I'm going to go and be like, yeah, I sat down with Kat Russell today. In the year 2050, hopefully, I can watch that video and be like, oh shit, like, 20 years ago I sat down with Kat Russell on this day. Like, that's crazy. Like, but let me not ramble on. Let me go to only the second question. What is an obstacle that you have overcome that has helped you get to where you are today?
I think just getting more used to this idea of a life in flux that, you know, I'm more okay with just playing it by ear and hoping that with hard work and persistence, everything will come together.
And you know what? I think it will. I'm a firm believer of that too. I've just always thought, man, if I put in all this hard work, how could something not give? You know, if I did something for so long and just gave my absolute all, blood, sweat, and tears, and everything I really truly believed, how could something not give? I don't know. I guess that's only for time to tell, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's all been coming together pretty good so far, so I remain optimistic.
Dude, I'm such a piece of crap. So everyone listening in, you're probably, if you listen to this episode, I mean this podcast more than once, you're probably thinking, bro, you're asking the 5 questions from season 1. And I just looked down and I'm like, hold on, why are these questions like so? These are hidden right now. And then I was like, hold on, these are the wrong questions. So you've given great answers to the first 2. So I'll just do the last 3 from the second part of the questions.
All right.
Number 3 was, what is your biggest pet peeve?
One of my biggest pet peeves is if I'm watching something with somebody, they need to pay attention to what we're watching. If you are on your phone looking at memes or some crap and we're watching a movie, and then especially if you then ask me like, hey, what just happened? that like, I don't know why. It just gets so under my skin. I feel like I want to have the shared experience, so you need to be paying attention.
Now, this isn't as big as a pet peeve for me, but I have to admit there has, I think, been once or twice where I was doing the same thing. And whenever I find videos, I have a very bad problem of really getting into them. So if someone's like, yo, let me see it with you or something, I want you to really watch it as if like we have a test on this afterwards. Like I need you to pay attention.
Especially if I'm showing you a movie.
Bro, right? Like, and like taking, bro, okay, I was about to get upset there. But literally I had a friend that was like kind of similar. They was like, oh, what just happened? And I got so mad because it was one of those parts where you're like, yo, bro, if you're not going to pay attention to this part right here. Like, this is the part I want you to see. Misses the freaking part and then says, oh, rewind it real quick. I'm not you know what? Matter of fact, I'm turning it off. I'm turning the whole thing off. We're done with the movie. We're done with the show. I don't even want to watch it. You've ruined it for me now. And that's why if someone's like, yo, are you trying to show me a video? I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you going to watch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
like I'm down to show you a movie if you're going to pay real good attention.
Like, I will quiz you on this after. Just be aware that, you know, this is what this is. But number 4 would be, what do people misunderstand about Kat Russell most?
So you may notice that I don't post my personal picture of myself online. I consider myself pseudo-anonymous. Like, you run into me at a conference, it's just me. I'm like, hey, this is me. If you're like, hey, let's get a photo, I'll probably pull like a little mask over my face. And a lot of people tend to come back at that and they'll be like, well, you know, that's not really anonymous, right? And it's like, yeah, I do. But I think there's like some very good things about anonymity and pseudo-anonymity. And they should be things that we should be striving to maintain in the future. You know, the fact that somebody right now can post online while living in a totalitarian regime and post anonymously and not have to worry as much is great. And any push for the like, well, everybody should have their name or info attached, that'd make us all know who we are. Great on paper, but it ruins the safety protocols and safety net that exists for these anonymous people. And many of them have legitimate reasons to be anonymous. And for me, like, pseudo-anonymity is good because...
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I like pseudo anonymity because to me, when you think about like anybody who's famous, like you can look them up and you can see a million pictures of them. You know them to the point where like when they're walking through the grocery store, they get harassed, etc. Uh, I'm not famous. I'm just Cat Russell, a guy who makes collages and lives out in Appalachia. But you never know like what could blow up when or why. And it's a like cat's out of the bag scenario. Like if you've posted a million pictures of yourself, you can't take them back. You can't undo the web. So I like just being like, yeah, I don't mind meeting you in person, but I want a 0% chance that I'm walking through Walmart someday and some person's like, hey, you're that rich Ethereum guy, and I get fucking robbed. Like, no, I am good on that.
100%. Hey, you're that rich Ethereum guy. Yo, if anyone ever yells that to me in public, we have a problem.
We're fucking running.
we have a huge fucking problem. We need to evacuate immediately. But the thing is, you're not wrong, bro. And it really don't even take a lot of money for someone to get on some weird stuff. Especially, and it's very sad to say, especially if you're a female in this space, it's very hard to live your daily life. I just saw a female artist get attacked earlier in her Discord, unfortunately. And it's just sad to see. And it's, I do think that anonymity and not having to dox every time, like, yo, that's important. I mean, look at the people from BAYC, Bored Ape. Now, I mean, doxing was their own thing, that's their decision, but their life is never going to be the same now. Like they can't go certain places and just walk in the store. You know what I'm saying? Like they're forever going to be the owners of BAYC and the ones that have this filthy amount of money. And I don't know if I would really like that, having to operate in a world where everyone just sees me as this like dollar sign, or that I just think that I'm better than someone. Like I just couldn't do that, bro. Couldn't do that.
Yeah, there's a beauty of the fact that we are allowed a second existence on the web, and it doesn't need to be a mirror match of our primary existence. I think that you can be a different good person on the web than you are in real life. They can both be good people, but they can have separate personalities to a degree. In real life, I'm very introvert. When I go to conferences, though, Cat's a pretty extrovert dude. And it's more just me like being that persona that I am online and treating it like a fantasy the few days I'm at the conference. But otherwise, like my real me, he's a hermit that lives alone. I've left the house twice this year, and it's the 22nd. And I don't go out, I don't see people, and I enjoy that. So both of those versions of me can exist just fine.
Yeah, and I mean that's a great point. You bring a very great point, and it's even funnier because you told anyone listening in, you heard Kat say a couple minutes ago that he kind of don't show his face, and I thought that was so funny because as someone who has seen Cat Russell, we're doing this episode right now, and his video is not on, so I still can't see his face right now, and I think I've only seen it twice. So he's a very very good looking young man. And Cat, bro, I've had a blast doing this. Let me not get ahead of myself. We have one last question.
Yeah, hit me.
If you won $10 million, what in the hell would you spend it on? Do you think you would know?
Yeah, I'd pay off my hundreds of thousands of law school debt. I'd pay off my house. I would set up 132 Ethereum staking node. I'd buy a lot of art, and I'd support my mom because she needs some support.
Absolutely. Beautiful thing. Beautiful answer. It definitely sounds like someone just asked you this question about 30 minutes ago because you had that answer ready, locked, and loaded. You were like, 10 mil? Yeah, that's easy. Let me give it to you real quick. So that was wild. I never had someone just easily answer it that quickly. But that concludes the 5 questions, 2 from last season, 3 from this season because I'm an idiot. But Kat, bro, I'm so excited. We've been talking we're right at the hour mark. We will be trying to get this uploaded to where, as y'all hear this, I want to say Trap Geo will be dropping tomorrow. And we will be using this episode. Hopefully we do a spaces tomorrow as well. And I'm just really excited, bro, to see what you're doing. So before we head out of here fully, can you let the people know where to find you on social media?
Yeah, I pretty much only exist on Twitter. It's cat_Russell_. You may find me floating around some Discords or Telegrams, but Twitter's the place. My DMs are open. And trapgeo.xyz on Tuesday will be the website to go to.
Ooh, man. I'm excited, bro. Like I said, I'm super excited. You've been working super hard on this. We've been friends for a while now, and I'm just so happy to see what you've been able to create. I want to see a ton of people support you. So, I mean, anyone listening, if you can, I highly encourage you to go support my man, Cat Russell. Anytime I post these episodes, I do always leave the social medias like in the description, so you can go check out Cat. You can go check out his art, and be sure to check out everything that he's doing in the future too, because my man's not just dropping Trap Geo and then disappearing. My man's sticking around for a long haul. He's going to be around. He's going to be creating for a while. So, Kat, once again, I can't thank you enough. Oh, if you don't mind, please stick around a couple seconds after we end. I got some things for you. But, man, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we go?
No, it's been a real wild ride of 2 years. I'm excited to see what the next few years have in store. And Sniper, it's always a pleasure chatting.
Oh, yeah. I'm very happy to see what you have in store. 2 years is about to turn into 20, and you're going to be some absolutely amazing goat that I'll be seeing in museums or something, bro. And if not, I went wrong somewhere. So, Kat, it was an honor, man. I'm super excited for your drop. And those listening in, thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate the support, and we will be trying to push out episodes every single week. So until the next one, peace out, and y'all have a great week. See you guys.